Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my media feed from all of my previous shows, and here is my profile so that you will know it's me. And here is my merchandise. We will be rolling out new merchandise throughout the rest of this year. And the team that we are going to be focusing on today is none other than the purple and gold, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, here is Los Angeles Lakers right now. They are a team that is, I'm going to say, playing decent, but we all know that they can play at a much higher level. But there are going to be some things that are going to, I would say, stop them from getting to their ultimate goal. But before I get into that, I want to get into that roster, who's all on that roster, and who's the head coach. DeAndre Ayton is on the Lakers. DeAndre Ayton, Kobe Buffkin, Luka Doncic, Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, Bronny James, LeBron James, Luke Kennard, Max Kelber, Dalton Connect, Jake LaRivia, Chris Manning, Austin Reeves, Marcus Smart, Nick Smith Jr., Adu Thero, Drew Timey, and Jared Vanderbilt, and the head coach is J.J. Redick. Now, there's something that I've been looking at throughout the entirety of this season. The Los Angeles Lakers are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA. And the reason why this looks so bad is because J.J. Redick, throughout his NBA playing career, he was one of the best three-pointers throughout his career. He was always in the top 10. So to have a head coach who is top 10, top 20 in most three-pointers made all time, and he's coaching a team that has one of the worst three-point shooting percentages in the NBA this season, it's very bad. I mean, there have been times where I've seen the Lakers, they don't play any defense. After they come down, miss a three-point shot, and if they got fouled, they're complaining to the ref. Most of them are complaining to the ref about getting a foul and how they want to slow the game down. Now, that is the thing that is going to help the Lakers. If they slow the game down, make it a free throw shooting game instead of a fast paced game, they will be able to win multiple playoff series. But one thing that I want to say is that right now the Lakers, they are at the number fifth. They are at the number fifth spot in the West right now. For the Lakers, home court advantage, I wouldn't even say that either. I wouldn't even say home court advantage is critical for the Lakers because they've lost on the road and they've lost at home. It's all about what type of Lakers team you are going to get from night to night, whether it's for the rest of this season or in the playoffs, because over the last 5 years, they've had the same problems. They have maybe 5 good scores, but when it comes to defense, they're always having defensive lapses where their opponent, they go on a 17-8 run or a 25-13 run in the span of 7-8 minutes. And then it's like the game is blown wide open and the Lakers can't even recover. And that's exactly how it's been for the Lakers throughout throughout the Darvin Ham years, throughout the Frank Vogel years. Now you have J.J. Redick, and I've been hearing a lot of people say that J.J. Redick should be fired. This is only his second year, and me, I'm a Lakers fan. Like I'm a Lakers fan, so it's really hard to watch them night after night, and it seems like they just don't care on defense. That's what it looks like. And for everybody earlier on in the season when JJ Redick said that practices were gonna be uncomfortable. As far as the media, it's like, why would y'all even buy into that? Because you already know that I'm not gonna say that. Most people know that what the head coach say in the press conference, that's like immediately after the game, you know, your thoughts and your reactions, takeaways from the game is all over the place. But after you get done with the game, go home, sleep on it, come back to the practice facility the next day, all of a sudden you think, okay, what can we change? What can we do better? But the one thing about it, when it comes to the starting lineup, we already know who the starting lineup is for the Lakers. But as far as that bench production for the Lakers, we have to look at that. Now, here are the player statistics. We know that Luka Doncic, he averages 32 points. Then Austin Reeves with 25.4 points. LeBron James, 22 points. DeAndre Ayton, 13.2. Rui Hachimura, 12.1. Luke Kennard, 10 points. Marcus Smart, 9.8. Jake LaRivia, 9.5. Jackson Hayes, 6.9. Ian Smith Jr., 5.8. Jared Vanderbilt, 5.1. Gabe Vincent, he is no longer on the team, but this is when he was still with the Lakers. He was averaging 4.8. Dalton Connect, 4.6. D. Timey, 3.5. Kobe Buffkin, 3.2. Max Kleber, 2.3. Bronny James, 2.2. A. Thiero, 1.5. C. Manning, 0.4. And C. Koloko, 0.0. So, shooting statistics, this is basically where most of the scoring comes from. The top three guys on this list, and then we all know when it starts with DeAndre Ayton, there's a significant drop-off. Now, DeAndre Jordan is facing some legal trouble, so hopefully he get back from that. I am still gathering information when it comes to DeAndre Ayton's legal trouble, so I'm not going to get into that at this particular moment in time. But as far as the Lakers as a team, from a standpoint, it's all about what can they do when you get to those points in those games where things are not going right and you're going to have to make a move and score some points. Or here's another way I'm going to say it. When a team goes on a 14-5 run and the Lakers aren't getting foul calls that they want, what are they going to do? Because the last few years, we've all know that has turned into a downward spiral and things just snowball for the Lakers after they get down by 10, 12 points. That 10, 12 points become a 20-point deficit, then a 25-point deficit, and then, you know, all of a sudden they start getting blown out, and then everybody just start throwing in the towel and saying, okay, let's go to the next game. But now, one thing that I can say, the Lakers, they can make things very interesting, but it all comes down to defense. Now, here's their roster. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, is back fully healthy. Here's their starting roster: Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Marcus Smart, LeBron James, DeAndre Ayton. Then second unit: Luke Kennard, Jake LaRivia, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes. And then their third, fourth, and fifth lineups are just basically the same players I said. They just in different positions in the third, fourth, and fifth lineup. Now, injuries for the Lakers. There are no injuries for the Lakers right now, which is great because they do have a game tonight. But one thing, when we get to the Lakers' schedule, Lakers, they got a tough schedule. They do. They got a tough schedule. Starting off the season, it was tough because you were facing Golden State. You won versus Minnesota. You won versus Sacramento. You lost versus Portland. Won versus Minnesota, Memphis, Miami, Portland, San Antonio. Already done beat San Antonio this season. And then you went on a little bit of a losing skid. You lost 2 out of 3. Then you went on a 6-game winning streak. So the Lakers, they are capable of going on winning streaks, but can they sustain it? As you can see, when we get to December, you see that loss here, win here, loss here, win here, loss here, win, and then you lost 3 straight if you're the Lakers. Then Detroit, you lose in Detroit. You win versus Memphis twice in 3 days. You win versus New Orleans. Then you lose versus San Antonio, Milwaukee, Sacramento. You win versus Atlanta. You lose versus Charlotte and Portland, 2 teams who are also vying for a spot in the play-in tournament. And I'm going to do segments on the Charlotte Hornets and the Portland Trailblazers sooner rather than later. But back to what I was saying. Toronto, tough team. Lakers were able to get one there. Denver, they've always been giving the Lakers fits over the years. Clippers, you lose to the Clippers. We could pretty much, toss that because that game could go to either one of you. Then you get to Dallas. You win in Dallas. Chicago. You get blown out in Cleveland, which is not great. Then you win versus Washington. You lose versus New York. You win versus Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and Golden State. Oklahoma, you lose versus Oklahoma. You lose versus San Antonio in a blowout. And last week, you beat Dallas. And then we get to the present and remaining schedule. Tonight, the Lakers, they have the Clippers, Battle of LA. And then afterwards, you have, here's some tough games. Here are the tough games that are remaining on this schedule. Boston, Phoenix, Denver, New York, Minnesota, Houston. You got Houston 2 times in 3 days. Oklahoma, you have twice in 5 days. You have Phoenix again at the ending point of the season. And then to finish out the season, the Lakers have Utah. So the Lakers right now, what I see from them, they are 33-21. The remainder, before I say how many games they are going to win, we've all seen this movie play out before with the Lakers. a team that is right there at the midway point of the season, but they can't go any further or they can't drop any lower. So, historical context and where the team started to where it's at now, this is going back to the very first season with the Lakers. Now, the first season, the Lakers, they weren't called the Lakers. Back in 46, 47, they were called the Detroit Gems. Then they moved to Minneapolis in 1948. They were called the Minneapolis Lakers. And we all see that they started their winning ways immediately thereafter. They won the NBL championship over the Kansas City Royals in 48. 49, they win the BAA finals versus the Capitals. Then we get to, this is where the NBA merger became 1950. This is where they came into, this is when it started becoming the NBA finals. Lakers won over the Nationals, the NBA finals in 1950. We get to 1951, they lose in the division round to the Royals. Then they start their winning ways. They did a three-peat. They won over the Knicks. They won over the Knicks twice, and they won versus the Nationals. At that time, a three-peat had never been done before. And then for the rest of the 50s, the Lakers, they had nothing but playoff exits. Now we get to the early 1960s, and that was when they made their move to Los Angeles, California, and that is where they are that's where they currently reside in LA, California. So for the 1960s, it was pretty much, up and down. The Lakers made it to the finals multiple times, but they lost to the Celtics. They lost to the Celtics in the 60s 6 times. Man, 6 times the Lakers lost to the Celtics in the finals in the 1960s. 1970s, they won a championship over the Knicks in 71-72. They got to the NBA finals again the following year in 73, lost to the Knicks. And then for the rest of the 1970s, pretty much first round exits or second round exits. And then we get to the early 80s. 80, the Lakers won a championship over the 76ers. 2 years later, 82, they win it again over the 76ers. Then 83, 84, they lose to the 76ers and they lose to the Celtics. 85, they win over the Celtics. 86, they lose in the conference finals to the Rockets. 87, NBA finals win over the Celtics. 88, NBA finals win over the Pistons. 89, they lose to the Pistons in the NBA finals. And by the early 90s, the Lakers, they started losing their grip. They lost to the Chicago Bulls in the 91 finals. And then 91, 92, Lakers lost to the Trailblazers. And for the rest of the 90s, it was pretty much the decade where everything was a work in progress, a lot of first round exits and a lot of second round exits. But then we get to the early 2000s with Kobe, Bryant, and Shaq at the helm. 2000, they won the NBA Finals over the Indiana Pacers. 01, they won the NBA Finals over the 76ers. And 2001 through 2, they won the NBA Finals over the New Jersey Nets. Then afterwards, cracks started showing in the Lakers foundation with Shaq and Kobe at the helm, as they were saying. 2003, they lose conference semifinals to the Spurs. 2004, they lose in the NBA Finals to the Detroit Pistons, which is still at the time was very shocking, and that was one of the greatest NBA Finals upset in NBA history, I think. Then we get to 05, 06. This is where this is where the Lakers, they were led by Kobe Bryant, and it seemed like that's all that it was. You get to 07, 08, Kobe Bryant wins MVP. He gets to the NBA Finals. The Lakers get to the NBA Finals, and they lose to the Celtics. Then you get to the NBA Finals again the following year and win over the Magic, which that helped out Kobe Bryant's legacy. Then you win the following year against the Celtics in 09 and 2010 season when you lost to them 2 years prior. And we all know that Kobe tried his best to get that three-peat, his second three-peat, I might add you. And it was pretty much nothing. Pretty much nothing was doing after the 2010 season. Nothing stayed the same after the 2010 season because they lost in the 2010-2011 season by the Dallas Mavericks. And I mean, the Dallas Mavericks during that playoff run, they had some crazy shooting games. It was one game where the Mavericks played the Lakers, and I believe the Mavericks, they shot 70% from the three-point line. And we all know that in the world of basketball, if you are shooting 70% from the three-point line, that is uncomprehendable. So the Lakers lost there. Then we get to 2013. We all know that Kobe Bryant, he was injured for the rest of the season. They lost in the first round to the Spurs. Then they go on a 6-year playoff drought. We get to 2019, 2020. They win the NBA Finals, led by LeBron James. Frank Vogel was the head coach. 21 and 22, both seasons where 21 they made the playoffs, got knocked out of the first round. 21, 22, they didn't even qualify for the playoffs. 22, 23, they lose in the conference finals to the Denver Nuggets. 23-24, they lose in the first round versus the Denver Nuggets. Last season, 24-25, they lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round of the playoffs. And we get the present day. Present day and their current schedule, their remaining schedule. Here is who all they have on their schedule that is remaining. I'm going to go back over that again for people who did not see it earlier on. But tonight, the Lakers, they face the Clippers. That game could go either way. They face Boston on Sunday. They face Orlando. Orlando, that is going to be a tough outing for them because we all know Orlando, even though that they don't light up the scoreboard, the defense is going to carry the Orlando Magic, just like the Detroit Pistons. Now, before the season is over with, I am going to have to change my view on the Detroit Pistons because if did anybody see the Detroit Pistons what they did last night? Now the Detroit Pistons, they have a good chance at making the NBA Finals after what I saw last night because New York Knicks are no competition for the Detroit Pistons. And I'm trying to figure out is any West team a competition for the Detroit Pistons? Because Detroit Pistons, I believe they are in the same bracket as well. In terms of wins, they have the same, almost the same amount of wins as OKC. So it could be an NBA Finals matchup between Detroit Pistons and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But back to the Lakers, I can see the Lakers finishing the season with 57 or 58 wins, facing pretty much facing whoever is in that 4 to 5 spot at the end of the season in the Western Conference. I believe that if the Lakers can stay within the top four, they'll be okay because the Lakers they'll have home court advantage now. Like I said earlier on in the show, home court advantage may not always go in a team's favor, but at least you have some good home cooking to fall back on. You can get a few foul calls to go your way, and by default, the team with home court advantage, they are automatically the favorite. And it's always been like that. Even when it comes to these betting odds and these odds makers, they always give the team with home court advantage the benefit of the doubt. Whether the team is a home underdog, really, they're not going to be a home underdog by much. It may just be 3 or 4 points, but it's not going to be like, an 8-9 point underdog at home. But the Lakers, they have the opportunity to make this thing interesting. I believe that the Lakers, they have a better team than the Rockets. I just believe that the Rockets, when it comes to pressure-packed moments outside of Kevin Durant, who are the Rockets going to turn to? Because when it comes to pressure-packed moments, and relatively, the Rockets are still a young team, but it was the acquisition of Kevin Durant that made them have playoff experience. See, with Kevin Durant on the Rockets, he automatically give them playoff experience by default. The Lakers, most of the guys I'm just going to say that most of the guys that are on the Lakers team, they have playoff experience over the last 3 years. Because I know Jared Vanderbilt, he's been there for the last 3 years. And we all know that LeBron and all of those others that have been there for multiple years, they know what Laker basketball takes. They do. So the finality of my Lakers segment, I can see the Lakers having 56, 57 wins, playing in the first round, and I believe having home court advantage. And if the playoffs were to start today, the Lakers would be going on the road to face the Houston Rockets. That's what they would be doing. But obviously, we are in the final stretch of the season, which starts tonight for the rest of the league. And obviously, March Madness is right around the corner. And the NBA, this is the best time for NBA and for college basketball. If you are a college basketball fan and if you are an NBA fan, please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports, where I will be covering March Madness and I will be covering NBA all throughout the rest of the NBA season, and I will be covering the NBA playoffs. Also, please like, comment, share, subscribe to Key City Sports and the Keyonmillions.co. Here is my merchandise. We have live merchandise on millions.co. Here is my profile so that you will know it's me. And here is my media feed for all of my different segments, different clips, sound bites, and other segments and topics that I've talked about over the past few weeks when it comes to the NBA, and all of the content that I did throughout the entirety of the college football and NFL season. And with that, that is my remaining season outlook for the Los Angeles Lakers. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Keyonmillions.co. I just showed you where everything is at, just gave you all a tutorial. And remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is always on time.